I want to talk a little bit about the mindset and mentality of women once again. This is sort of a more video on younger women, particularly those with a more easy middle and upper middle class life. I'm not talking about women who are married with kids, women who have, in some cases, I am, but some of these I'm really just talking about white women who have lived a middle class, not outback experience life. The thing that a lot of young men have trouble with women is believing there's some kind of a man with screwed up thoughts or different traits. Get everything you know about men's thought patterns, that mechanical mindset, that mathematical, logical calculation, and just throw the whole lot in the bin. Essentially, women, particularly younger women, are very emotional creatures. They don't run on logic. They run more on relationships, emotions, feelings, and vibes. This is how you can be considered a creeper, although you can't work out what the hell you've done wrong. A lot of it's just vibes and emotions. And these control them. They're not like an add on to logic as it is with a man. These control them. I have a tendency to fall in love with girls that do not match me at all. There is absolutely no logic, rhyme, or reason for it. And if you want to refer to how women think, you may well have a similar thing where you fall in love with girls who are just so not appropriate for you, or not your type, or just like you wouldn't have anything to do with them, but then this little thing called love just bites her in the ass, and it doesn't make any sense, and it's all just emotional, random. You get that whole part of your life and spread that to like an entire personality type, and you've got women. The trouble is, in today's world, many young women in the West, and mainly in the West, not Eastern women, not African women, just Western women, they have lost all sense of their instincts. This is why some complain that babies don't come with a manual. This whole point was brought up in my sister's mother's group probably more than 10 years ago by an African woman who said, I don't want to criticize anyone, but I just want to say that having lived in Africa, a lot of women there can just read their babies and work things out a lot better with no instruction manual by simply following their instincts. And now that I'm living in the West, I realize that Western women just don't follow, they're just not in touch with these same instincts in the same level that African women are. And I suspect this is the same with Asian women, East European women, and stuff like that. So what they do, of course, is just go on, what the media tells them. And the trouble with all of this is there's a lot of self-praising claptrap. There's a lot of we're as good as a man and I can match a man. There's a lot of feminist horse shit and social engineering that is sort of infiltrated into all of this crap, particularly with a particular old man with the last name of Soros, and the Open Societies Foundation. At no point can I stand here and say that I'm a good salesman, because I know I'm not, but I can openly admit that I can't sell a $50 note for $5. I really couldn't. And I also am no good at babysitting. But instead of sort of looking at what they can do and what they are good at and reveling in that, these young women are encouraged to revel in, well, I can do everything a man can do. You don't see me here, sitting here trying to pretend that I'm good at babysitting when I know that I'm shit. But they've got to pretend that they can do what men do, and they're just as good at it. It's some sort of a pride thing or a goal that's sort of pushed by all this modern feminism and crap. You know, it's just crap. So much of what you'll see with these young women is they try and ride off the coattails of other people's success and claim it's their own. This is where things get really sticky, because they try and be something they're not. But when they can't inevitably do it, they then try and ride on someone else's coattails, or they just go into delusional mode. And all of this crap is like, they just start talking crap to hold up an ego. And they're lying to themselves. And like I've always said to you guys, it's one thing to lie to someone else. It's very, very dangerous to lie to yourself. I've always maintained that there's videos on this channel that are years old where I say that. Years old. Probably 3-5 years old. Easy. The worst thing of all is lying to yourself. And, you know, I see this play out where they just, you know, there's a guy, some of you may have seen him on YouTube, and he mentioned that a lot of the women in LA will put themselves in their profile as being a business owner or a CEO and all this sort of shit. Are they? Of course not. What they are is they're a Herbalife resaleswoman. You know, they're just a Herbalife distributor. They're stuck in some blasted thing, usually paid for by dad's money, where it's a multi-level marketing load of crap. And the long and short of it is that they're forced to buy this stuff to remain a distributor at a level higher than what they can probably sell it at, and they're losing money. Most of them are going backwards. Most of them are eating this stuff themselves to try to recoup some of their losses, which are actually more like dad's losses. The reality of the situation is they're absolutely not a CEO. But Herbalife told them they were their own boss, and so they go with all this bull crap. And they believe it. It's an utter lie. But when you start digging into it, so is damn near everything they use to pump up their ego. It's just blatant lie after lie. But see, somehow they've got to be better than they are. So instead of actually get out there and do the hard yards, it's easier to give yourself labels, to have advertisers and other people trying to leech off them, give them labels that they accept, like you're now your own boss, and then pump themselves up to be far better than they actually are. To then turn around and reject guys who are actual business owners because they believe they're somehow higher than them. Or, you know, I'm after this level of guy. The crazy thing with all of this is a lot of this stuff is not only based on lying to themselves, it's based on cherry-picked crap. They will look at someone. Yeah, I'll give you a good example. I know somebody who has 3 kids to 3 different men. She only married the father of the last man. She's now since remarried. And so they'll say, well, you know, single mums can get remarried. She's actually grandma at this point. She's married for the second time. And she's obviously too old to have kids. And, you know, they get strange outliers, bizarre cases that aren't common. You know, outliers being, well, cases that aren't very common but have happened. And they cherry pick all of these cases to then turn around and say, this is possible for me. They cherry pick people who got pregnant at 65 via IVF by lying on their form about their age and say, well, I could naturally get pregnant at 65. in the cases I'm talking about, most of the women I'm talking about are usually, under the age of 30 or at least under the age of 40. But you get the thing I'm talking about here. It's just cherry picking bizarre individual cases to then say that could be me. When they don't have the money, they don't have the looks, they don't have the brains, they don't have the position to even have a chance at doing the case that they're cherry picking. So much of this crap is based on living a falsehood because it's easier to change definitions and dream harder than it is to get off their arse and do the actual damn work. But in some cases, they just aren't capable because not every woman is made to be a mechanic or a CEO. And it's just as simple as that. But instead of sort of accepting who they are, there's always this sort of thing of, pushing themselves to be something they're not. Not pushing themselves, but just deluding themselves to be something that they're not. This is highly prevalent. This is then what they use to then try and claim that they deserve a man who's at some massive level above them. It's laughable and it's ridiculous. But the saddest thing is this bullshit is destroying our society. I know a lot of men go MGTOW, but you got to realise that this is social engineering that has been created to make you look at MGTOW and say, this is a logical response, because they know that men run on logic. And if they do the right thing to women and then sort of, maybe a couple of shills feed a bit of stuff to men, or men just sort of come to a obvious conclusion that MGTOW is the right answer because all the positions in place make it look that the most logical conclusion is MGTOW. The reality is they've got you as a chess pawn who thinks you're an independent thinker because you've chosen the most logical path, but they placed every piece of the chess game in the right place that the logical path was MGTOW, that they then knew would destroy the rest of society. You're just become a pawn in social engineering. It's not that all women are crazy. It's just that they were easier to manipulate down the wrong path than men, and that it was easier for men to then decide that MGTOW was the most logical path for them. It's all a bit, sounds a bit conspiracy theorist type of thing, but you see the point I'm making, don't you? It's like when there's certain things in place, you just go, bugger this, it's more logical for me to do this, so you do that. And then they've got you to play into the entire larger game. It's sad, but this is the way they've structured it. That it looks like self-destructive moves in terms of society are the best moves for men, but it was just easier for them to get women to believe lies, and then that was the easiest path for them to go to create a societal downfall. Anyway, just a few thoughts.